So originally I was gonna wait until I had, during the day and more time to do my makeup and stuff, but it's just been on my mind a lot. And right now there's this tweet going around that's basically saying, joking about like, oh, well, maybe this person's just having a trauma response and maybe they have ADHD and stuff. And it's like, I see so many people thinking it's funny, and it's hard because like the people I know who have ADHD who are responding to it are super upset. It's like really upsetting for them, and they're talking about their experience and stuff. And those are the videos that, the comments on Twitter, whatever, they get way less retweets. And it's like the one where it's just, it's pretty harmful. And that has like 20,000. And, some people are gonna, address it and stuff and probably go back to switching to the other side. But the people critiquing it, it's just so upsetting. Like, people who have ADHD have to spend literally their entire lives, like, revolving around this super hard mental illness. And already, like, this mental illness makes getting diagnosed so hard. Like, the hardest thing for somebody to do with ADHD is make an appointment, go to the appointment, be on time to the appointment, go to another appointment so you can keep getting your medicine, etc. And then on top of it, for like women, it's just a statistic that you get diagnosed way later in life than guys. Because, and so people are invalidating somebody saying they have ADHD and, saying they have a bunch of different mental illnesses. The thing is, when you have one mental illness, it's typically not just that one mental illness you have. You find out, wait, I have ADHD. Wait, I'm like 50% more likely to have autism. I'm more likely to have this eating disorder, etc., etc. It's like, it's never usually, oh, you just have depression. Well, that's it. It's like, you have depression, you have this and this and this and this. And it's just so crazy that people who don't have any mental illnesses are like, oh, well, why don't you just not do that? Like, what? Like, why would anybody have any mental illness at all? Like, this is literally in a textbook that people have to go, people who go to school study this textbook. It's diagnosable, it's like, why would you think that somebody could just not do that thing? Or why would you think it's like not that hard of a mental illness to have? I mean, people have to spend so long, their whole lives, like advocating for themselves, telling doctors. I've had to go to like 4 doctors before I finally found one who diagnosed me, and it happened to be a girl, and all the other ones I had seen were guys. And it's not to say that every guy doctor is bad, but it's messed up. Like, women already have a super hard time getting diagnosed, and for people to like invalidate that struggle even more is just super triggering. It's like gaslighting, like telling someone basically like, oh, you say you have everything, like, you're so dumb. Like, that's the thing. If the tweet was like actually trying to be funny, I could even make an argument that, they're just trying to be funny. It's not even trying to be funny. It's just being rude and trying to make fun of people who have mental illness and who probably had to work really, really, really hard at getting it diagnosed. And they're working hard getting it treated. They're working hard every single day of their lives to do things that normal people or, people with normal functioning brains don't even have to think twice about. And then those normal people are really going to try to tell us something about it? That's insane. Like, it's so dumb. I've studied psychology, and I still would think that that doesn't mean I know more about something than somebody who actually has the disorder. Because again, I could read about something in a textbook. I'll never know like what ADHD feels like. So everybody can learn from people with these mental illnesses. And that's the problem. Sometimes doctors will think that, this person's making it up, and they won't even give him a valid chance to actually test it. There's no test that says like, oh, you have ADHD, you have bipolar. You have to literally take somebody who's already mental ill, and you have to give them, like, put them in a position of coming up with their own diagnosis, and also being able to advocate for themselves if somebody is basically dismissing them, which is super, super hard. Like, these mentally ill people already are like, they put so much effort into making that appointment, and then the doctor tells them like, basically, you're crazy, like, that doesn't sound like it's what you have. So then, like, what happened with me, I believed it because I was like, oh, well, like, this is a doctor, and I imagine they know what they're talking about and that they wouldn't dismiss it if it was possible that, I had it. and then you go to a different doctor and they say you have something completely different. And then you have to spend all this time like knowing something's wrong with you, but not knowing exactly what it is. And you have to put so much effort into something that you thought would be really simple, that you would get a diagnosis, that you would just get medicine. I had to try like different medicine. They would make me try different ones for things that I didn't even think I had. And I still would do it. And so that's why I have no problem saying, you know, I don't trust every doctor. I don't think that even if one doctor says you don't have something and you really believe that you do, I think you should get multiple, like, you know, talk to different people first. Don't assume right away, like, something you really thought you had, you don't have, just because one doctor made you feel bad about it. And the fact is, like, that's already such a hard thing. So again, even though it seems small, it's really upsetting for people to be like, saying, I mean, and that's not the only tweet. That's another tweet talking about how it's not a big deal that the Adderall medication is on a shortage. And it's like, the person who took that medicine could crash into your car because they weren't able to focus as they would if they had medicine. And you're sitting there talking about how like invalid it is and how it's not important. And the truth is, it's important that people take this seriously, because the people reading those tweets and forming those opinions are the people that go on to become doctors diagnosing people. They become people who like are assuming like, oh yeah, everybody thinks they have it nowadays because of TikTok. So this girl who's mentioning that she saw a video of someone talking about it, I bet she's just saying that. Like, that's so stupid. I'm not going to diagnose her. It's messed up. It's so wrong. And it seems small, but it's not. It's a huge, it's like a very, you know, melting pot of issues where it's like, it's not just one teeny little thing. It's a whole very complex issue. So it's extremely triggering for people who suffer from this to try to, it's like when people talk about mansplaining, it's like mental illness splaining. It's like somebody who doesn't have something is like, well, why don't you just not do that? And for example, that happened to me when I was younger. I have a skin picking disorder, and I saw a doctor who basically made it sound like it's not a real thing. And like he told his grandkids, because they had OCD, and he told them to just get in the mud and get over it. And my family member, who already was like on the fence about believing me, went from taking me seriously, like finally getting me an appointment, like this is the first doctor they're asking. And the mistake was, you know, it wasn't a psychiatrist, it was just a general doctor. But, you know, you would still think that they would know about, you know, how complex it is. And they didn't. So then it made it harder for me. Like that ruined, like for high school, I could not get prescribed, you know, things that could have helped me because I wasn't being taken seriously. So again, you know, that tweet's really not that funny. And I don't think the person who made it is even bad. And I just think that a lot of the people talking about issues have a lot to learn. And I think that they should really be learning from the people who experience the thing they have an opinion about. It's an example that reminds me in a Facebook thing, you know, she was talking about how panhandling is so bad and how basically everybody who's homeless is just entitled to people's money and all these things. And, you know, I didn't even know what to say. And then it popped up on my Twitter feed where somebody who was actually homeless was talking about their experience. And she was saying like pretty much everyone there had a job. Everyone was like, you know, either really disabled and not getting help they needed, or veterans, or people in domestic violence situations, or people who were in foster care, basically people with really good reasons for being there. And then this person who has this opinion is saying, oh, you should discourage it. There's a lot of homeless people who can't even get to a shelter. Like they were saying, like, instead you should just donate your money to a charity if you feel like so compelled to help homeless people. And it's like, if you see somebody starving, and you're gonna go around like telling people like, no, don't give your money to those people, like don't do it, like they just, you know, it's super dangerous. There's a lot of single moms who are homeless, and it's like, again, that issue shouldn't exist at all. But it's like, why does this person think they know more about a homeless person's struggle than an actual homeless person? Like when I thought about the issue, I was like, well, you know, I was kind of like, it's like obviously the person who you could learn the most from. You know, I was looking up statistics and stuff, and even that, it didn't tell me half of the things that that girl who experienced it was able to tell me, because it was her experience, because she knew more about it than people who study about homelessness. Like, it's like, of course you couldn't fathom what it's like to be homeless. You couldn't fathom how important it is to drink alcohol because your body is like freezing and you're going to freeze to death and it helps keep you warm. Something like that you wouldn't even consider because you just don't know. So, I was disappointed by it, but I just hope that everyone could learn from it and be more open-minded in the future and understand why it's important to take those kinds of things seriously. If people with ADHD, if all your friends with ADHD are tweeting like, I was really upset about this. Like, it's like everybody I knew who, they said exactly what I said, what I had been saying without even seeing their responses and everything. Like, I was kind of like, maybe I'm the only person bothered by it. They were all saying the same thing. So again, if you're going to have an opinion about something, at the very least, listen to somebody who, maybe you could learn something from. And I know I already talked a lot, but I did want to add, I just know how people could write it off as unimportant. And it's just, as the person who struggles from people having those opinions in so many ways, it's just really important to nip it, when you see it, because again, if it's normalized and if that keeps getting 100,000 tweets, then everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, that's stupid. Wait, you have ADHD and autism? Maybe you're just making things up. And it's just so harmful. I had never seen what an autistic person looked like who was having different symptoms than the typical way that it's shown in TV and shows and stuff. And I even remember being younger and people said that about Glee, and I loved Glee. And I was annoyed about it. I was like, well, at least they're giving, attention to OCD. But you know what? Now that I've thought about it more, I'm like, it actually is really harmful when shows have autistic characters or OCD characters, and they have these extreme symptoms that are stereotypical, because what happens is a lot of autistic people, I think on Degrassi they had that, for example, and I can't remember if they did a good job showing it, but you just see things like that and you don't identify with it, so you think you could never have it. I'm sure there's a lot of parents who are telling their kids, you don't have ADHD, you don't have autism, and the funny thing is they probably got it from that parent who's sitting there telling them that. And it's not even their fault. They've just never seen what it looks like. And it's just what happens when those kinds of biases and stereotypes exist. And for me, it's super validating to talk about. It feels really good knowing that potentially even just one person could benefit from hearing about my experience and maybe get diagnosed sooner. If I had had TikTok when I was younger, the amount of people who talk about how bad it is, and it's fair, there are bad aspects, but who diminish the mental health aspects and who talk about how TikTok exists now and suddenly everybody has ADHD and autism. That's exactly what the tweet was saying, basically, and it's just so ignorant. That happens a lot with diseases where it's with being gay, where everyone's well, everybody's gay now, and it's literally 5 years ago, even just 10 years ago, it's changed so rapidly in society where a lot of people who were gay just weren't talking about it because it wasn't socially acceptable. And I see it as a similar thing. Now it's there's nothing wrong with therapy or, talking about your mental health. It's a lot different now. You can explore it. You can ask, do I have ADHD? I think I have this symptom. Oh, okay. I read about it more. Actually, maybe I don't. And that's not a bad thing. It's not bad to question. It's really good. Now you can feel comfortable. You at least got it checked out. Versus the people who never get it checked out. Those adults who are telling their kids, and then now they're telling their kids not to. And I literally had friends where it was super clear where either the friend or their sibling had a really severe mental illness and the parents would not get it treated just because it's it's frowned upon. And it was so harmful. It's crazy how people's entire lives could be school is such an important aspect of oh, go to college. Oh, parents care so much about that, but they don't care about mental health being used as a tool to get medicine, which could help their kid excel in school, who is extremely smart, but just really needed to treat some of their mental health symptoms. And again, that bias prevents that kid, it ruined me in college. I would have had a way easier time. If I had been diagnosed before, I probably would have had no problem graduating really quick. But again, all of those biases and it taking so long. Literally my first year of college, I was yeah, I think I have bad ADHD and I really would benefit from medicine. And the first psychiatrist I saw was a woman. And she agreed with me, and she would have prescribed it, but my school for some reason is not allowed to prescribe it, I assume, because they assume everyone's trying to get Adderall to do better in school. And again, it negatively impacted me because the next line of doctors I saw would not believe me. And by the time I was getting treated, it was too late for, and it's not too late, but it's just like too late in a sense of I had already struggled so much more than I needed to. So again, it would be awesome if somebody could see this video and think, I could tell my family this. Like, I didn't even think of it like that. I was kind of questioning if it was valid. And, anyone that wouldn't listen is just ignorant, and you can't listen to them, and you just get treated when you can, and that's what you have to do.